What's good, everyone? OJ here. Welcome back to another video. Today we're taking a look at many of the reasons why I'm excited, even more excited than I was a few days ago, about Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity. This is the brand new Legend of Zelda spin-off but canon game that is made by Koei Tecmo and advised upon with Nintendo to be an integral part of the Breath of the Wild trilogy, because we have the original Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, we have this game, Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity, that is a prequel to Breath of the Wild, then we have the Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild 2, or the sequel, coming out probably in 2021. So it's very exciting times for Legend of Zelda fans. So let's go ahead and go over the first few things here. And the one thing that came to my mind when I first saw this was, wow, look at those cutscenes. The cutscenes will detail the story, and they actually made a point to point that out when they talked about it in the press release and in the trailer and in the Anuma interview and all that stuff like that. They said that there's going to be a lot of cutscenes detailing the story. It looks like it's going to be even more detailed with the story than Breath of the Wild did. And if you've played the Hyrule Warriors games or the Fire Emblem Warriors, or if you've played any of those games, they're actually pretty good stories. They do a good job. Koei Tecmo does with the themed games of actually having pretty decent stories in there, and now they're actually working like side by side and hand in hand with a canon storyline. That's going to be pretty cool for the cutscenes in here. And if you know anything about Koei Tecmo when it comes to the cutscenes and story, they go pretty crazy. So this should be a wild ride when it comes to how the cutscenes look in this game. Now, the next thing that I'm excited for is the Breath of the Wild style visuals, graphics, presentation. Everything seems like it was just like plucked straight from Breath of the Wild, but kind of put into this cool, new, different type of style of game, and I love that. The visuals look exactly like Breath of the Wild. It does not look like a Warriors style of game. Kind of like weird looking, not weird, but you know, not the actual style of the franchise, and that's kind of how these theme games look. I mean, yes, you have the same like look of the models and stuff like that for like Fire Emblem Warriors or even for Hyrule Warriors, but it doesn't look like the actual source material of the games because they come from so many different pieces. But since this is straight from Breath of the Wild, they really nailed everything to it, and I'm really looking forward to going through and seeing exactly all the little touches and little fonts and UIs and little things that they added in there to make it like an extension, a real prequel for Breath of the Wild. So that's very exciting as well to kind of go through that. And another thing is that the graphics in this game are definitely much better than what we saw with Nintendo's previous themed Warriors games like Fire Emblem Warriors or like Hyrule Warriors. Much better. I remember when I first saw Hyrule Warriors, while it looked okay, it did not look that great, but the graphics did get a lot better from when we first saw it to when it actually released the following year from 2013 to 2014. So it was very exciting to see that bump up and to see them kind of improve the things. But from the very go, the game already looks amazing, just as good as Breath of the Wild. So very excited about that. Next up is something that I think is probably the key, or one of the keys with this game, of course, right? And multiple gameplay elements from the source material. So if you don't know about the themed Warriors games, what they try to do is that they try to infuse the regular Warriors gameplay, you against hordes of enemies and attacking and doing all this stuff, but taking certain elements from those games in order to kind of spruce up the gameplay. Hyrule Warriors had a little bit of like areas to where like you can use bombs and find different treasure chests and kind of fighting bosses the same way that you might fight a boss by using like a secondary item and then being able to disable them, then doing something else. So they kind of took those elements, right? Fire Emblem Warriors had its little pair-up style, different types of things that you can do, and also sending certain units to different parts on the map, and even had the sound effects and everything to coincide with that. So I think that what we're seeing already with this game from the trailer, there's already multiple different elements. Two ones that I want to talk about here are the shield surfing, which you can catch in some of the screenshots that was shown off. Shout out to my man Stealth for kind of pointing that out too. But also there was a part with Urbosa where she dodges and it activates that slowdown that's from Breath of the Wild. Hyrule Warriors does not have that. Fire Emblem Warriors does not have that. So it's a unique element from the game Breath of the Wild that's implemented into Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity, and that's just awesome. Those are just two things that we know about here. We saw some of the bombs, we saw the Sheikah Slate with Stasis and Zelda, like we saw a number of different things, but some of the other little things like the shield surfing and the slow-mo dodging and stuff like that is great. There should be something with Link that allows you to probably slow-mo dodge and shoot a bow and arrow, but I'm really looking forward to seeing exactly how the other champions kind of interact with that and what elements do they have from Breath of the Wild that are implemented into this game here. So very excited to see how it all kind of plays into the gameplay aspect of it, because that's going to be very key, guys, because the one thing, like the one knock on Warriors games, is they kind of can get repetitive, right? So if you have a bunch of cool elements from Breath of the Wild to keep things fresh as you play and to kind of remind you like, oh yeah, I remember that, or okay, yeah, that was pretty cool when I did that, then I think it's going to help it from getting repetitive so soon, like maybe Hyrule Warriors could get at times when you're playing through that game. Next up is something that's very important, guys, and I want to make sure that I am not taking any other arguments on this, guys. I am not going back and forth with you guys, but it's the fact that you can play as Urbosa. You can play as the champions, but particularly Urbosa, because she is the greatest champion. Look at her. She is a fine specimen of a woman that is just ready to take down everybody in her path. She has the beauty, the grace, the power, the style, and she's in this game. And of course, she would be the one to activate that bullet time, to activate that dodge time in order to jack up a bunch of people. You can unleash the full power of the champions, right? You have all of them, but you can unleash the full power of Urbosa, because we all know out of all of the champions, Urbosa is the most well-rounded in terms of strength, speed, ability, and background. Urbosa is the most well-rounded champion out of them all. I mean, like Falco ripoff, come on, we can use him in Super Smash Brothers. No, I'm joking, Rivali fans, don't kill me in the chat, but seriously, guys, this is pretty cool that you're going to be able to play as the champions, and I think that they're even going to add more detail into the combos and into the characters that you play as, because I don't think there's going to be as many characters to play as Hyrule Warriors. Now, I might be wrong. I could be wrong on that. They might add a lot more, or might have something that they do in order to kind of get the character count up, because there was a lot of DLC, but something kind of tells me they probably want you to play as the champions, Zelda, Link, and like those main characters to feel more like a main canon storyline type of game outside of a, okay, here's a fan service game with all these weird characters that are kind of just thrown in there that sometimes don't make sense. Like Hyrule Warriors, you're playing as like the bug girl, you know, from like Twilight Princess, playing as her, you know, it's like she never did anything. So that's the thing, you know. So in this game, I think that they're going to try to like really focus on the champions and focus on the main characters and give them a lot more tools and better things in order for it to be a more rounded out and fleshed out experience over what we saw in previous Warriors games, and even in the Warriors or Dynasty Warriors or any of those style of games, because there's always so many different characters. You can't have them all have unique and crazy combos because there's just so many. But this game, it seems like it's gonna probably be a little bit different on that front. And last but definitely not least, and probably the most important thing that is getting people so excited for this game, is the fact that it's a canon storyline as a prequel to Breath of the Wild and as an integral part of a newfound trilogy that nobody knew was going to happen until this year, but when it happened, people freaked out. #1 on trending, all this other stuff. If this was just a regular Hyrule Warriors game to where it was a made-up story and it was kind of like Hyrule Warriors the original, and yeah, it's cool, you can, you know, use a bunch of different characters, and maybe even if they have the champions in there and other stuff, it wouldn't be as crazy or as hype as this right here, because now it becomes something to where you kind of have to play it, especially if you want to know more or kind of see everything when it comes to the whole story, right? Because Breath of the Wild 2 is coming out probably next year. So in order for you to really get to know everything, you're going to have to play this game or go through this game or at least watch this game. So more people are interested in this game because it is canon, because it's a real prequel, because it's going to have the actual story of the Calamity War, and no better game, you know, it being canon, no better game to kind of show off a war than a Dynasty Warriors game, because that's pretty much what every Dynasty Warriors games are. They're just huge, large-scale wars, and it just kind of fits hand in hand. I bet they probably had like the little light bulb moment, like, whoa, we can put this with the Calamity War, right? And it's just gonna be like crazy. People might not even like the Warriors games, but they're gonna play it because it has that canon storyline, because it has that aspect to it. Okay, it finally makes sense that we're just destroying and killing like a million different enemies on screen because it's a war and we're super powerful. But this time it actually legitimately makes sense within the themed game that they're going for. So it's very exciting for many people. And without that canon storyline, I just don't think the hype would have been as much, you know, because people have been wanting to know about the Calamity War. People want to know what happened. People want to see more of it because Breath of the Wild, as great as the game is, didn't really show too much of it. So it was always kind of a little bit of a mystery here, but maybe that was their plan all along. Either way, it worked out beautifully and people are getting excited for this game. We've got more information coming up on September 26th. We got Tokyo Game Show in September as well. And then the game drops in November. So it should be pretty cool leading up to launch. So what do you guys think about Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity and my most exciting things about it? What are some things that you think are the most exciting that I didn't mention here? Let me know in the comment section below. All right, guys, that wraps it up for this video here. Check out the links in the description. We've got Twitter. Go and give us a follow on there. Stay up to date on all latest gaming news and information. Also, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and share this video if you can. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll catch you for the next one. Peace.